What's going on, guys? Welcome to Everything Always. My name's Michael Roman, aka All Fires. Now, as the Russos have worked on Avengers movies in the past, they've often taken to their social media to offer little teases. Back when they were working on Avengers Endgame, they posted a black and white photo from the set that said "Look hard," with no obvious details in the foreground or background, just people guessing as to what they were trying to say in the photo. Well, they're back at it again today, and within the last hour posting another photo, presumably behind the scenes on the set of Avengers Doomsday, in black and white with the exact same caption, "Look hard." And look hard we are going to. We're going to break down the whole photo and see if there's any symbolism or anything in this photo we can actually find. And some people think it's pointed out a huge tease for Avengers versus X-Men, and I don't know that I don't agree. We're breaking it all down, this latest reveal by the Russos for Avengers Doomsday. But first, if you could grab the subscribe button. Thanks to everyone who's been subbing lately and helped grow the channel. If you haven't already, I would just kindly invite you to do so. It's the #1 thing you can do to support us. Plus, it'll automatically enter you for the giveaways. Again, all you got to do, be a sub, leave a comment. If you want, stick around at the end of the video. We get into all the giveaway stuff again there. Now, this is the exact photo, no light enhancements or upscale of any kind. This is the photo that the Russos shared to their Instagram, again, within the last hour. It's Joe Russo sitting in a folding chair, facing to the left. In front of him, there's something at his feet, which looks like a Velcro bag of tools. Then there's a huge piece of cloth or rug stretched over what looks like wood that's propped up by a metal piece that's also fashioned to another shorter piece of metal pole. Now, in the very background, there's a curved blue or green screen, and then in between them, what looks like a mobile light truss of some kind, a spotlight. On the right seems to be some scaffolding that are in the shape of X's. Yes, we'll get there. There's also a tent in front of that wall, and then something in the foreground that's covered what looks like by black sheets. They have wires running out of it, and then there's something right behind that in white plastic bags that you can't make out. Now, very obviously, since there are no actors or anything else in this photo, the very first symbol we see is the letter A. It's undeniable, it's right there, and obviously A stands for Avengers. Now, the next detail and on the right are the X's that make up whatever this scaffolding is. And if you go ahead and zoom in very close, yes, at least some of these are making a full-on X. And of course, in this context, X stands for X-Men. So admittedly, I will concede there is an A and there is an X. They are both present in this photo. Now, for this next one, we may be stretching a little harder than Reed Richards, but hey, that's what they expected us to do with the caption "Look hard." So perhaps you can interpret what's between the A and the X is perhaps a V and an S. Now, there are shapes there that make it very easy to follow those lines, and it would be Avengers versus X-Men if this is what they're intending. It could also be that they knew they could post this stuff with just an A or the X's in there, and people would interpret whatever they wanted. As we said for their previous posts, it's kind of the gag telling us to look hard when there's really not any major reveals in the photo. Again, they did this for previous Avengers movies. Now, if you rewind the clock to when we first found out that Robert Downey Jr. was going to be playing Dr. Doom, but well before we had the cast announcement via the chairs that confirmed so many returning Fox X-Men, there were industry insiders who said they were hearing that this film would actually give us the X-Men versus Avengers that we were hoping for, because if you remember, after Kang Dynasty had its name temporarily changed, one of the things that was proposed was Avengers 5 could turn into Avengers versus X-Men, and that could go one of two ways. Either they could fast track the X-Men reboot we know now won't come out until after Avengers Secret Wars, or they could bring back more of the Fox X-Men we had seen throughout the Multiverse saga, like Professor X, Wolverine, and Beast. And I namely drop Beast because we know Monica Rambeau was in some X-Men timeline, and that the X-Men were going to show up at some point, just not in the way that we expected during the cast reveals and subsequently what we've been hearing about Avengers Doomsday and their role in the plot. And for those of you thinking, well, the plot can't be Avengers versus X-Men, they've got to get through the Doomsday stuff. Of course they do, but keep in mind, Marvel movies have always focused on one of the core tenets of comic fans sort of comparing characters, who would win in a fight if, and every single time we've had introductions of brand new heroes meeting each other, villains and heroes meeting for the first time, there is always that score to settle, and immediately, back in the days of the early Avengers films, they were so good at doing this, and at least in multiple places in canon, we've seen a lot of the Avengers face off against each other, well, when it makes sense. And now for an upcoming Avengers and X-Men movie where they'll be side by side, of course they were always going to square off. This is going to be our opportunity to finally see it, and some classic classic matchups like Wolverine versus the Hulk and others are what we expect to be a part of this. So Avengers versus X-Men for at least parts of the scenes before, you know, enemies become friends has always been core to what Marvel does when they have an opportunity. I don't know why it would have been any different now. And if any of this seems like a bit of a stretch, again, further than Reed Richards would go, keep in mind that Alan Cumming has been pretty transparent about his experience in filming Avengers Doomsday, said he did a lot of it with sort of face-over stuff and solo on set, but that they did have a script, and for at least one part, he was fighting who he thought was Pedro Pascal Reed Richards. He tried to explain that away as saying maybe it wasn't him, but that sort of let the cat out of the bag, that the Fantastic Four, the Avengers, the X-Men, they're all going to be rumbling at some point before they obviously team up and either take down Doctor Doom during Doomsday, which is unlikely, or have to all team up and face him again in Avengers Secret Wars. And this, of course, can always be explained under the guise of the 2015 Jonathan Hickman run, when two timelines in the 1610 and the 616 basically had to battle it out. It could be now that the 10,005 and the 616 are those two timelines at the forefront, but we've heard from other industry insiders it may be just more than two timelines, and we know at least confirmed at some point in the film everyone will be headed to the 828. Now, whether that's the origin timeline for Doctor Doom, they seem to imply that with Latveria, but no Doom during the film. Still, we've theorized he may come from another part of the multiverse still, so it may be more than just two core timelines, and this doesn't actually preclude them from all ending up in Battle World at the end of Avengers Doomsday with more variants than we've even seen during Doomsday, and still have a lot more battles to come between X-Men and Avengers, Fantastic Four, and the other teams that they can bring out again with the infinite variants across multiverses and who may show up when it's all said and done and Battle World kicks off Avengers Secret Wars. But you guys let me know all your thoughts down below about this photo. Do you think the A and the X are a reach? Do you think the Versus is a reach? Do you think the A and the X are believable, but the Versus isn't? I'm all ears as always, and of course, if you caught some details in this photo you think are pertinent and absolutely worth covering, put them down in the comments. You never know. Sometimes I find good stuff in there. I'll definitely shout you out. Let me know all your thoughts down in the comments quickly. Let's get into the giveaway stuff before I let you go. All right, we are still giving away PlayStation 5s at the channel. The next one is for Wonder Man in a couple of months, plus other giveaways for the holiday season. If you want to be entered to win, super simple. All you got to do, hit the subscribe button because you need to be a subscriber, then leave a comment down below, and because it's truly random, the more videos you comment on, the better chance you have of winning. Please remember that all announcements for winners will happen live with my voice at the end of videos, and if you should ever get some spam in the comments of people trying to pretend to be content creators, either on my channel or any other channels, just report those accounts directly to YouTube. The best way to keep up with the content has always been to hit the notification bell with all notifications turned on, and as always, if you liked today's video, I'd appreciate it if you'd hit the like button. My name is Michael Roman. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at I'mFires. You can also find me on Spotify, YouTube, Amazon, Apple, iTunes, wherever you listen to original music under the name Allfires. And while I would sincerely appreciate you checking my music out, thanks for checking this channel out. Stick around. We'll be posting again real soon.